Russia lost more than 1,500 troops and over 100 armored and logistical vehicles over the past day, Ukraine's military said on Wednesday, taking its total casualties to almost 500,000 people. Moscow's forces have sustained a total of 486,940 casualties since Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, according to figures published by the Ukrainian military on Wednesday. Russia also lost 48 armored fighting vehicles, 14 tanks, and almost 50 other assorted vehicles in the previous 24 hours, the General Staff said in an update. Casualty counts and equipment losses are notoriously difficult to pin down, and experts caution that both sides likely inflate the other's reported losses, rarely talking about their own. But Ukraine's figures do offer some indication of the scale of the war's impact, as Russia pushes a new offensive in northeastern Ukraine that has led to intense fighting. Russian attacks across the front line away from Kharkiv have increased during the offensive in the northeast. Lieutenant Colonel Nazar Voloshin, a spokesperson for the Khortytsia group of Ukrainian forces fighting in eastern and northeastern Ukraine, told Newsweek on Tuesday. On Monday, just days into the new offensive, Ukraine's military said Russia had lost 1,640 troops in a single day, marking the highest number of daily Russian casualties reported by Ukraine since February 2022. The UK Defense Ministry estimated earlier this month that Russian casualties likely stand at more than 465,000 since February 2022. French Foreign Minister Stéphane Séjourné told Latvia-based Novaya Gazeta Europe in an interview published on May 3rd that Paris put total Russian casualties at around 500,000, with around 150,000 fighters killed. The BBC's Russian service and Russian independent outlet Mediazona reported in mid-April that at least 50,000 Russian soldiers had been confirmed dead. Moscow hasn't commented to its own losses since September 2022, when Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said just under 6,000 Russian fighters had been killed. Ukraine has also suffered heavy losses and rarely offers updates on the toll of fending off Russian assaults. In late February, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said 31,000 Ukrainian troops had been killed in 2 years of war. Russia has said Ukraine's death toll is much higher, saying Kyiv lost 215,000 soldiers in 2023 alone. Ukraine warned on Thursday it faced a very difficult military situation in its northeast Kharkiv region, where Moscow has made its largest territorial gains in 18 months since launching a surprise offensive last week. As Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Kyiv was sending yet more reinforcements to the area, the Ukrainian army said it had managed to partially halt Russia's advance. Kyiv also accused Russian troops of executing civilians in territory it had captured over the last week. The fresh Russian offensive has further stretched Ukraine's outgunned and outmanned forces. Moscow has seized 278 square kilometers, 107 square miles, of Ukrainian territory between May 9 and 15, according to AFP calculations based on data from the Institute for the Study of War, ISW, the largest territorial gain in a single operation since mid-December 2022. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky on Thursday met military leaders in Kharkiv city, some 30 kilometers, 18 miles, from the Russian border, to assess Ukraine's defensive efforts. Ukraine's army said earlier it had managed to halt the advancing Russian forces in some places. Ukraine has been forced to evacuate around 8,800 people since Russia launched the new assault, Kharkiv Governor Oleg Sinagubov said. Some were still arriving at a humanitarian center in Kharkiv on Thursday. Among them was 85-year-old Nadezhda Borodina, who had her dog Vasik on a leash and her frightened cat Lucas packed in a plastic bag. Most of Russia's recent gains are in the Kharkiv area, though they have also claimed fresh territory in the eastern Donetsk and southern Zaporizhzhia regions. Following months of stalemate on the sprawling front lines, Russia has seized the initiative on the battlefield, pushing on from the capture of industrial hub Avdiivka in February. Russia's defense ministry said Thursday the army had advanced deep into the enemy's defenses in the Kharkiv region. A day earlier, Russian President Vladimir Putin had said his troops were advancing on all fronts. Some military analysts say Moscow may be trying to force Ukraine to divert troops from other hotspots, such as around the strategic hilltop town of Chasiv Yar in the Donetsk region. Russia's defense ministry said Wednesday its forces had captured the symbolic village of Robotyne in the Zaporizhzhia region, some 300 kilometers, 185 miles, south of Moscow's new offensive. The settlement was one of the few successes for Kiev of an underwhelming Ukrainian counteroffensive last summer. The intensification of Russian attacks on multiple fronts has underscored the acute ammunition and manpower shortages crippling the Ukrainian military.